Good evening. Welcome to today's Tropics for August 25th, 2020. Please note, I am not a meteorologist, and this video is just a collection of my thoughts and opinions about the storm I'm talking about. And for any decision making, please consult National Hurricane Center or your local officials. So today I'm looking at Hurricane Laura, and it has been intensifying generally all day today, but it seems to be undergoing about a faster intensification. It seems to be trying to close off an eye wall here. You can see some hot towers rotating around the center here. So that is a clear sign that it's trying to build an eye wall. You can see double ones here. So double hot towers, generally a sign of intensification. You could almost see a bit of an eye pop up right in the middle of the cyclone here. So it's trying to get an eye going, but it is still too weak a cyclone to actually keep it going. So at this point, it's going to cover it up back up again as the convection gets a lot deeper. Looking at the uh, infrared imagery, yeah, you can see it's pretty clear that there is very deep convection circulating around the center, up to -80 degrees Celsius. So it is very cold, deep convection, and that will obscure the eye for at least a little bit until it becomes a stronger tropical cyclone, and in which case it will be able to clear out the eye with that stronger subsidence. Here's a microwave pass over the cyclone uh, a few hours ago, about I think 2.5 hours ago. And one thing you can notice is that cyan ring here, and that tends to be a sign that there is a possibly rapid intensification on the way. And that tells you that there is a closed low-level eye wall. So it definitely is seeming to get a lot more organized now. And we'll have to see what it does tonight. We also have a recon mission inside the cyclone, and it's about to make a center pass. It hasn't quite yet, but it is finding pretty strong winds at this point. Not too surprising for a storm of this intensity, but yeah, it is definitely getting stronger, and you're having a lot more of those 64 knot values. So that it is definitely starting to get its act together, and the conditions will continue to be pretty favorable and allow for more possibly rapid deepening. Looks like we just got a bit of new data from the recon mission, and it's just making a center pass. It looks like it missed the center a bit to the northwest, so pressures might be even a little lower than this, but it went down to 981 millibars. So it is a deepening cyclone, and it is getting its act together, obviously, and it seems that it's starting to shrug off that more northerly shear that it's been dealing with for a few days. Now, I don't think the pressure is quite this low because these NOAA planes that go in tend to have a almost systematic low bias in the pressure, so I wouldn't quite trust these verbatim. However, this is actually a few millibars lower than the previous pass in the extrapolated values, so definitely does seem to be intensifying and possibly rapidly intensifying as well. If we take a look at this, uh, if we take a look at the water vapor loop here, you can see that there's that upper level low bit to the south, and what it's doing is allowing for some good quieter word or outflow from Laura. So it is dealing with or is benefiting from actually a pretty favorable shear or upper level environment right now, aside from some of that northerly shear. So first of all, it already has this going for it. However, it's about to get another shot in the arm, so to speak, and that is in the form of an equator or a poleward outflow jet here, and that's thanks to this upper level low over central Texas. And you can see it's already starting to connect with it a little bit. There's some convection near. A lot closer to the storm and some expansion to the north here, so it's definitely starting to feel that more favorable poleward outflow jet. And after this, it will have a double or dual outflow jets, or yeah, dual outflow jets, and you tend to have very strong cyclones coming from that because that is very favorable and allows for pretty considerable mass divergence in the upper levels, and that allows for lowering pressure and continued intensification. So it definitely seems like it's a pretty favorable environment. There is a bit of drier air, and that has been trying to wrap around the south side, and it actually seemed to have done so earlier. We'll have to see if it can wall that off. It's definitely doing pretty well right now with the hot tower activity, and that could be something that walls off the dry air and allows it to continue strengthening, but doesn't really seem like a huge deal to the cyclone. So now a lot of indications, or almost all the indications, are that it's going to continue strengthening and possibly rapidly as it approaches the Gulf Coast early Thursday. Looking at the HWRF model, which has performed actually pretty well with Laura for a little bit now, and it has the continued attempting of the wrapping of the eye wall here going on until tomorrow morning. And by tomorrow morning, it does look like it has a pretty much closed off eye wall. So I might see it try to continue firing those hot tower bursts that we have been seeing, and eventually it'll be able to close off the eye wall more, and at the same time it'll likely deepen. So we'll probably have a deeper cyclone in the morning tomorrow, and it'll probably be trying to clear out its eye then, as it's stronger and able to support a bit more of the subsidence in the center of the cyclone. And the conditions look pretty good until you get near landfall. So this is on Wednesday evening, or tomorrow evening, and once it gets near the coast, it starts getting more on the north side of the upper level ridge it's on, and that means there's some southwesterly wind aloft on or near the cyclone. But the problem is it's not quite moving in that direction, so it's going to start getting some westerly shear potentially. And as it nears the coast, there's a little tongue of dry air here that starts showing up, and it's possible that there could be a bit of shear and a bit of dry air entrainment uh, as Laura gets near the coast, which would be good. It would weaken it a bit, but that would still or there'd still be a high wind, possibly dangerous wind, and definitely still high surge. So even if it does start weakening towards the coast, as a lot of these sorts of storms do, definitely still be prepared for very dangerous conditions, as they are possible, if not likely, as Laura nears the coast. The track is in higher confidence now. It definitely does look like pretty much no matter what, Laura is going to uh, come across the western end of the ridging at the mid levels, and that is due to the mid level reflection of that upper low over central Texas. So that is basically going to funnel it more north, and given a bit of a northeastward trend, due to Laura being a bit more to the northeast of expected, that means it does seem that the chances of a direct hit on, say, the Houston metro are going down. However, there is still a possibility for more shifts west, so definitely don't let your guard down. And even if it isn't a direct hit, definitely looks likely that there could be high winds as the relatively large cyclone passes by in the area. So even if you aren't getting that direct hit, you're still going to see effects outside of the cone and outside of, again, the direct hit area. Looking here, you can see, yeah, it's pretty bunched up, but it can and probably will shift in one direction or the other. But it definitely seems like you might start seeing a more upper level ridge start to degrade a bit towards tomorrow, and uh, I'd say Thursday morning, and that would mean at that point a deeper cyclone would actually travel a bit more east, and a weaker cyclone would travel a bit more to the west. And National Hurricane Center track seems to at first, or for a little bit, go between the medium tab and the deep tab. So that means they're expecting it to be a medium to deep cyclone, which seems pretty fair because it is expected to become uh, a major hurricane, Category 3. So this definitely seems like a good track at the moment. But again, there are going to be effects outside the area where it makes landfall. So uh, definitely be careful, and if you have to evacuate, do so. So looking at the official National Hurricane Center forecast, one thing to note is, yeah, it is a pretty large cyclone. Uh, so the tropical storm force winds extend a good bit outside of the center, and that's why even as far east as the mouth of the Mississippi River, you are seeing those tropical storm warnings because there is a good potential of tropical storm force winds, even though it's well outside the cone. So again, impacts will occur outside the cone, so don't be complacent if you live outside the cone, because it is very likely if you live from generally central Texas to uh, eastern Louisiana that you are going to see high, possibly dangerous winds, some storm surge from the onshore flow, and pretty heavy rain as it passes through. So flooding and wind are definitely going to be two very dangerous things as Laura comes onto the coast. Given that really shallow continental shelf and the strong cyclone coming in, it does look like that's likely we'll see some possibly significant surge, even over 10 feet, possibly in western Louisiana. And so, if you are in a flood-prone zone, especially in western Louisiana, but even extending further east as far as Galveston or out to the Mississippi. Definitely, if you are in those low-lying regions, it is almost getting likely that your area will flood as a result of the high storm surge. So do do listen to your local officials in what they are saying to do, because they're obviously trying to keep you safe. And if you're in an evacuation zone, obviously do so. But it definitely looks like there will be a dangerous cyclone coming into the shore on early Thursday morning. And uh, again, fear for the worst, hope for the best, as with pretty much any impactful cyclone like this. Uh, about it for today. If you have any questions or comments about my video, please let me know. And thanks for watching.